I knew I'd made a mistake the second I walked into the Duval Lake House. It was supposed to be my 32nd birthday, my name on the cake, my music, my night. Instead, I'd wandered into a country club summit where I was the agenda item, labeled problem to manage. Crystal chandeliers, Persian rugs, a wall of windows staring down a perfect lake, it all screamed money, and the money stared back. Clarice, my wife, glided through it in a crimson dress like she owned the air. Maybe she did. Her father, Gerald, definitely owned the room. Silver hair, developer money, and the permanent expression of a man smelling something off. Usually, me. I took my seat at the far end of a table long enough to host a Supreme Court hearing. The food arrived like art projects. The conversation arrived like traps. "So," Gerald asked, carving his salad with surgical care, "how's that little, computer business? Still fixing email?" I run a web firm with real clients and real revenue. In his world, if you aren't flipping land or golfing with a senator, you're service staff. Lillian, my mother-in-law, called my work very blue-collar. Dahlia, the family's designated mean girl, wondered aloud if I rented tuxedos by the hour for different budgets. Clarice smiled, sipped wine, and let it all float by. I tried to steer us to safe waters. "Sunrise on the lake tomorrow? Maybe take the boat out." "The boat," Gerald said, eyebrows up. "That's a 60-foot Bertram, not a rental pontoon." "I've sailed since I was 12, I said. "Past tense," he cut in. "What happened? Financial trouble?" "My dad got cancer," I said. "We sold the boat." Gerald nodded, satisfied. "Ah, poor planning. That's the risk with small business owners." Something in me pulled tight. I opened my mouth to defend the man who raised me when Gerald walked behind my chair. Heat hit my scalp like a slap. Tea, boiling, poured slow and perfect down my head and collar. Gasps. A porcelain teapot in his hand, a small, pleased smile. "How clumsy of me," he said. The room froze. Tea dripped onto a rug that cost more than my car. I stood, turned, and met his eyes. "Feel better now?" I asked. "It was an accident," he said, already rewriting it. "Perhaps if you weren't so animated." It clicked then. 7 years of jokes, digs, accidents. The moral math flipped. The cost of keeping peace had finally exceeded the cost of war. "You're right," I said, stepping toward him. "These things happen." He started. "You owe me." My fist landed before he finished. Clean and simple. His jaw snapped sideways, the teapot shattered, and the patriarch of the Duval family sat down hard, blinking like someone had turned on the lights. Lillian shrieked about the police. I told her to call them, and to make sure she mentioned the assault. That happened first. Dahlia filmed. Clarice stared at me like I'd ruined Christmas. "This isn't over," Gerald muttered, hand to his jaw. "No," I said, wiping tea from my face with a linen napkin. "It's just starting." On the porch, the night smelled like pine and water. Inside, the hornet nest raged. Clarice stepped out, arms folded, heels ticking like a metronome. "That was quite a performance," she said. "Your father poured boiling tea on my head," I answered. "What did you expect me to do?" "He was trying to lighten the mood. You know how spirited he gets." "Right. Passionate about scalding the help." "Maybe if you didn't take everything so personally," she said, the vein at her temple pulsing, "these things wouldn't escalate. So it's my fault." "You hit my father," she said. "You're going to go back in, apologize to him and everyone else, and salvage what's left of the evening. If you can't do that, don't come home tonight." 7 years of marriage reduced to a parking ticket ultimatum. I looked at her. The perfect hair, the perfect dress, the perfect certainty, and realized I was staring at a stranger. "You're right," I said, pulling out my keys. "I shouldn't come home tonight." The door slammed behind me hard enough to rattle the windows. I drove with no destination and felt weight slide off my shoulders in sheets. The phone detonated. Calls, texts, voicemails, Clarice, then Gerald, then the extended network of Duvals who'd never learned my birthday until tonight. I pulled into a rest stop and scrolled. 47 missed calls, 171 texts. Clarice's greatest hits. Where are you? We need to talk. You're embarrassing yourself. I'm worried about you. Gerald moved from threats to rational discussion. Lillian ran a triage line. Gerald is icing his jaw. Clarice is crying. The neighbors are asking questions. Cousins live-blogged the drama. An uncle who once punched a valet texted me that violence is never the answer. Todd, my brother-in-law, wrote, "Just apologize so we can pretend this never happened." There it was, the family motto. I bought a bottle of water in a lonely gas station bathing in fluorescent light, and on a whim that felt like oxygen, opened a travel app. One way to Honolulu, 6 hours from O'Hare. I clicked purchase. The clerk handed back my change. "Good luck," he said. "Yeah," I said. "Me too." Honolulu smelled like flowers. My Airbnb was a studio above a surf shop in Kailua. Size of a generous closet, window straight to the ocean. The Uber driver, Cleo, handed me a card, tours, rides, anything I needed, and told me his cousin Mel ran the shop downstairs. At a cafe called La Hua, the barista clocked me as mainland pale. An hour later, Mel sat across from me, laptop open to a website that looked legally dead. "Cleo says you do computers. I need a site that doesn't scare customers." "I can fix this," I said. "Buy me dinner." By week's end, Tommy, who ran fishing charters, had me booked to rebuild his site and online scheduling. I've been meaning to fix this since the first bush. From Tommy came a jeweler, then a food truck, then a boutique hotel. I moved out of the Airbnb and into the tiny studio above Mel's shop. Built during the day, learned names at night on the beach with coolers and sunset. People here didn't ask who your father knew. They asked if your code worked and if you'd bring potato salad on Friday. When I finally told the short version, birthday, dinner, tea, punch, flight, nobody tried to fix me or defend the Duvals. Tommy just said, "Good for you." That was it. No lecture, no therapy script, just good for you. The divorce papers arrived by FedEx 6 weeks later. I signed them over coffee. Clarice's lawyer tried to make it hurt. It didn't. I'd already given up the house, the car, the china, the whole museum of a life that never fit. Starting from zero was lighter than I expected. Work grew. Sleep returned. I stopped rehearsing sentences in my head before speaking. Friday nights on the sand replaced Friday nights at fundraisers. Nobody poured hot tea on me in a meeting. "Know what I like about you?" Mel said one afternoon as we watched tourists wobble on paddleboards. "You didn't move here to fix us. You just fit." I'd never fit anywhere. Turns out fitting isn't about sanding yourself down. It's about finding the right shape. 6 months in, the Illinois number popped up. Again. I let it go to voicemail. Dahlia, surprisingly subdued. "Gerald's telling people you had a breakdown." Clarice isn't correcting him. "For what it's worth, I never thought you were the problem. Old me would have rage called to set the record straight." New me deleted the message. Let them write their version. Every lie they told about me built. A wall I didn't have to. Mel brought coffee and rolled her eyes at my contentment. "You look like a pharmaceutical commercial." "Sorry," I said. "I'll try to be miserable tomorrow." "Don't you dare." Tommy texted about sunset fishing. I said yes in one word. No performance required. I stood on the deck above the surf shop, coding a simple booking flow for the art gallery down the street, while the ocean kept time. On the horizon, the sky started doing that Hawaiian thing. Ridiculous colors nobody believes until they see them. Somewhere in Illinois, a family I used to eat dinner with was busy, pretending I never existed. That was fine. I had a life to make. I closed the laptop, grabbed a beer, and watched the sun drop into the Pacific. Home, I realized, wasn't an address. It was finally being allowed to take up space as yourself. And that, after 7 years of shrinking, was the best birthday gift I could have imagined.